Hello, YouTube. Hello. Hello, everybody. How are we doing this evening? All right, starting TikTok. TikTok's actually ready to start as well. I'm being good tonight. Go live. All right. All right. Woo woo. Woo woo. Hello, TikTok. Hello, TikTok. Where's TikTok? Oh, we start, but nobody's here yet. 3 people are here. Hello, TikTok. Hey, Ash. Woo. Hello, everybody. How are we doing this evening? Okay, dog is still licking the hell out of my couch. I don't know. I don't understand it. I try not to ask. Anyway, good evening, all. How are we doing? Happy December 2nd from Washington, D.C. Oh, I wish we could do music. It's so annoying not having TikTok because of YouTube. Your fault. Because of YouTube, we can't have music. TikTok would not have a problem if I had music in the background. YouTube would have a conniption fit. So I'm not allowed to have music in the background, but it's annoying because like, I'd like to just kind of have my, my subtle, a little bit. I like background. I don't like complete silence. I've always liked just a little bit of background, something going on. I think because I probably grew up that way with like my parents would have the TV on a lot. Greeks do that. My parents don't quite do it the Greek way, which is like volume set at 10. But I like just a little bit of, a little bit of something in the background. Thank you, Bjorn. Anyway, so welcome, folks. I'm John Aravosis, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. The home is now Christmassy. So you can actually, for YouTube, you guys can see easily in Discord. For TikTok, we've got some of the Christmas stuff up. The giganto ornaments that I love. These things are like almost 4 feet tall. The tree, trying to like it. There you go. The tree is up. We put that up this weekend. That was fun. My friend Damien helped. So, and many little Christmassy things that are up as well. So very exciting. I have to hide Rudolph and stuff. The Rudolph and the Grinch and everybody are up here on the table because Sasha thinks they're hers. Every time she sees them, she used to freak out. I used to put them like by the TV and she'd sit there and she'd be like trying to get to them because any toy, it's like, I guess like a kid, like any toy for them is theirs. Like it's a toy, so it should be theirs, right? So anyway, so welcome everybody. Our show is the latest news. I go through, my background is a little bit of everything. Politics, a lot here in Washington, D.C. Journalism, law, I have a law degree as well. And I like to think I bring a combination of those to the show so that we can sort of go through the top stories and try to understand them a little bit better with somebody who's got an insider view on politics. So we will talk a lot about Trump and the sadness that is. And then we talk about Ukraine because that is a story that we all care about a lot in our community here on my show. So let's get rolling. Final thing is gifts are very welcome. I was going to say citizenship. You got me thinking of Trump. Subscriptions like Superfan on TikTok, subscriptions on YouTube, members, very welcome. So please get those rolling. You get to come to our special Saturday morning show if you do that. You also get some special emojis, and you just get to know that you're supporting my work with the gifts or the Superfans, which of course is fabulously important. So thank you. All right, let's get rolling, guys. So this first story, there are a lot of awful Trump stories today, sadly. This first story is horrific. I will say, I sort of have to preface it. So this first story, TikTok's community guidelines, the new ones, specifically say that we are allowed to talk about things that are, for example, discriminatory if we are talking about them in order to criticize them, which is what I'm doing. I'm going to read you what Donald Trump said today. It would be ironic if I got into trouble for reading something from Donald Trump, especially because I'm going to tell you he's a racist. The stuff he said today. Most of the media was kind of agog today, like even New York Times and others were basically saying, even for Trump, this was bad. Are you like, it's just, I know you don't want to roam out there. It's cold. The dog thinks she wants to go roaming outside and it's like freezing in DC. See, I didn't think you'd want to roam out there. It's not nice. Horrific what Trump said today. I'm just prefacing it. He is a racist. I will say this. It is important to talk about this stuff. There's sort of a debate. I'm going to get to it. Don't worry. There's a debate among people, and they're not totally wrong, which is like, do you give Trump oxygen by talking about the horrific things he does, or do you help combat them by talking about the horrific things he does. I happen to think it helps combat him because I think most Americans, I think his core group hears these racist things and likes them. I think most Americans hear these things and say, this guy's a piece of garbage. And that helps. That helps in the polls. It helps when the next elections come up next year. This is what happened to Trump the first time. People by the fourth year were so sick of him that the Republicans got thrown out of office, and the Republicans in Congress got in trouble too. Anyway, let me read to you. So from the New York Times, President Trump used a public cabinet meeting today to call Somali immigrants garbage, saying they did not belong in the United States. The tirade came as Immigration and Customs Enforcement was planning an operation targeting Somali migrants in Minnesota. New York Times, quote, this is Trump in the New York Times. These are people who do nothing but complain, Trump said. Oops, hello. These are people who do nothing but complain, Trump said at the cabinet meeting. They complain, and from where they came from, they got nothing. When they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Trump banged the table. Oh, no. Trump added as Vice President Vance banged the table in encouragement. Of course he did, right? It gets better. Mr. Trump said Somalia stinks and we don't want them. He described Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat of Minnesota who came to the U.S. from Somalia as a refugee and became a citizen 25 years ago, as garbage. We could go one way or the other, Trump said, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country, Trump said. She's garbage, he said. Her friends, garbage. These aren't people who work. These aren't people who say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. He's a racist. He's a racist. He's, it's hard. It's important to talk about this stuff because he's a racist. He's the worst president we've had in all of American history. I would say, some people say Andrew Jackson. I think he wins. He's one of the most uneducated presidents we have ever had. He likes to brag about how smart he is. He's got the intelligence of an 11-year-old boy. He has the political and not even political, the moral and ethical sensitivities of an 11-year-old boy. A child speaks like that. A racist adult, I guess, does speak that way. But he also is such a child the way he talks about these things. Again, I think it's important to talk about because we have a horrific human being, uneducated, racist, immoral, unethical, criminal running this country, and people should talk about it. And people should remind people that this is what this guy is, that this is how he talks. This is how he treats women. This is how he treats minorities. This is how he treats immigrants. No, I do. I think you've got to call this stuff out. And it helps in the polls. People hear this. His base likes this. Americans overall don't like it. It's dirty. It's vulgar. I mean, the New York Times used the word vulgar, and I think vulgar was an actually good point. It's vulgar, to use this kind of language. And again, he's not. Oh, 1 second here. 1 second here. It pisses people off, which is good. It starts to hurt Trump in the polls, which is good. This is what Trump, it's bad what he did, of course, he's racist, but it helps that he's turning people against him. I think there is a core base of this country that is into this kind of stuff, right? But across the board, this is the kind of stuff that hurts him more than helps him, I think. Yeah. So here we go. I knew it. We had a Trump troll on TikTok who goes, did you go to Wharton? Trump didn't go to Wharton. This is what Trump does. Trump likes to say, I went to Wharton. Wharton means you got an MBA from the University of Pennsylvania, is what Wharton means in American English. Trump went to the undergraduate, which is nice. He got a bachelor's of science in economics at the Wharton School in Pennsylvania. That's nice. That's not going to Wharton. This is the way he lies about things. And it's the way he gets his fans to lie about things. He didn't go to Wharton. I mean, literally in American English, going to Wharton. Somebody just said it on TikTok. Did you go to Wharton? Neither did Trump. Going to Wharton means you got your MBA from the Wharton School of Business. Trump did not get his MBA from the Wharton School of Business. He got an undergraduate degree, and that's nice. That's nice. You know, business school, a little harder than undergraduate. I happen to get a law degree from Georgetown and a master's in foreign service from Georgetown, which is the best school in the world for that actual field of study. It was harder. Undergrad was hard. It was harder. So, yeah. In any case, was his GPA that low? I don't know what his GPA was. But the point is, I had to check it out. I checked it out because I remembered there was something wrong with Trump claiming Wharton, and one of the trolls claimed it. And I knew it was a lie. Next story, war crimes. This story is only marginally better because it does mean that Trump's Secretary of Defense may go to prison in a few years. Hegseth today, this is so Trump and Hegseth is Trump's Secretary of Defense, are walking a very fine line right now because they're stabbing the U.S. military in the back. But at the same time, the U.S. military isn't somebody you want to stab in the back because they're the guys, right? They're the guys that have got all the weapons. They're the powerful guys. And they know where the bodies are buried, as the expression goes in English, right? They know all the bad stuff Trump is doing. Well, as you know, it looks like Hegseth committed a war crime in September, murder. He ordered the U.S. military to kill everybody on the boats that were leaving Venezuela and Colombia. Now, the U.S. military, Trump, White House, has been claiming that these boats carry drugs. Claiming. We don't know. And they haven't proven it. Hegseth apparently gave an order, and not apparently, he admitted it, gave an order to kill everybody on those boats. So the military blew up one of the boats. Two of the men were still alive, hanging on to the boards of the boat. And the military then attacked them and blew them up again. That's called a war crime. That is akin to, thank you, Gene, for the gift. That is akin to firing your weapon at someone on the battlefield, injure them, and they fall on the ground, and you walk up and fire again. That second firing, if they're just laying there without a gun, is a war crime. It is. This is a war crime. This is murder. What our military did in September, from what we know. Well, it gets interesting. Hegseth today, we stand by. I have to read you these quotes because it's so they're trying to screw the U.S. military so badly here, but they also have to pretend they're supporting it. I want to read you the quote. Again, I think you'll all be, even if you don't have a law degree, I think you're going to hear between the lines here of Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense's support for the military. Okay, let me pull this up. 1 second here. Hang on. Hegseth said he watched the operation live on video, right? Because they were attacking this boat, U.S. military. He watched the operation live on video before he moved on to his next meeting. But following news reports about the second strike, so first Hegseth said, yeah, I watched the strike. Then there were all the reports saying that strike involved a war crime. You went and you blew people up for a second time who were already like hanging onto pieces of wood in the water. You're not allowed to do that. Hegseth said after he heard that, I didn't stick around to see it. So now Hegseth is claiming, I watched, but I didn't watch. I watched the strike, but I watched the first strike. And then I left the room before they fired again, he claims. So I didn't know they did it. All right. So he's first of all going, wasn't me, right? I didn't order it. I wasn't there. He then says that Admiral Frank M. Bradley, the commander of the operation, made the right call in order to, listen to this. This is great. I wasn't there. I left. I didn't see it. But hey, that admiral, he made the right call. Quote, he sunk the boat and eliminated the threat, and it was the right call. In other words, you're saying it was a war crime? I wasn't in the room. He was in the room. He sunk the boat, but he totally did the right thing. But he made the decision and he sunk the boat. He's totally hanging the admiral out to dry here. But at the same time, they're trying to pretend like they're supporting the military. So they're saying this BS about, oh, it was the right decision. It was the right war crime that that admiral made over there without my permission, right? Yeah, yeah. Now, what gets interesting about this is from Hegseth and Trump's perspective, they're kind of in trouble. Thank you, Carrie. Very nice gift with the Dino Baby. I very much appreciate that. They're kind of in trouble here. The Democrats last week, remember before we found out about this, there was that brouhaha last week. But by the way, you're not hearing about that anymore. Remember last week, Trump got pissed because 6 Democratic members of Congress, 4 House members, 2 senators went public and said U.S. troops have a duty to disobey unlawful orders. They have a duty to disobey orders that are illegal. If you're given an illegal order, you have to disobey it. That's the way it works in U.S. law, U.S. military law. And the Trump people freaked out. And actually, you know what? 2 observations here. My first observation was the timing, right? I was kind of wondering, like, why last week did Democrats feel the need to remind our troops correctly, by the way, that they literally have a duty under U.S. law and international law to disobey an illegal order. If you are ordered to kill civilians, for example, it is your duty to say no, or you will go to prison. Your commander will too, but you will go to prison as well. Okay. So very interesting. So why did this come out last week? Why did Democrats bring this up last week? And I was asking myself, like, it didn't make sense, right? Like November 22nd. Like, I think they did it because they knew about this story. They knew about this. They learned about this story last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, and they weren't allowed to talk about it because it was classified. And basically, I'm thinking about this, right? If they can't talk about it because it's classified, they can't tell you this happened, but they can start a discussion about following illegal orders. And all of a sudden they did. And honestly, the Trump people walked right into it because Trump and Hegseth and all the Republicans went crazy, right? Oh, how dare you tell the truth? We're going to investigate you. And now they get the FBI investigating them. Well, literally 3 days later, we found out that our troops were given what appears to be an illegal order to commit murder. And they did it. And by the way, Callum was telling me yesterday, there could be, I think, Callum, you said like 22, or I think you were the person who said this. There could be some 22 service members involved in this attack. It's not just the drone operator, it's the intelligence guy and gal who, right, like all the different people together that made this attack happen. All of them could be liable for this attack. So that's the first thing is Democrats, I think, knew about this, but they couldn't talk about it because it was classified. And they started a discussion that the Republicans fell into. The second thing is, it's very interesting that in view of this attack, I just think it's interesting as a lawyer that the Trump administration appears to have committed murder, right, in the Caribbean, a war crime. And last week they were defending committing war crimes. Last week, the Trump people got just bloody mad at the concept that you would tell American troops that they should disobey illegal orders, which they are required to do under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ. They are required to disobey the law. Okay, here we go again. And TikTok is doing it again. Oh my God. Seriously? Wait, but now they're saying they're giving me a timeout for 10 minutes? Unbelievable. Okay, come on. Don't be idiots. Jesus Christ. God, a 10-minute timeout? What does that even mean? It's not even letting me. Wow, and it's not even letting me appeal. A 10-minute timeout? What does that even mean? Wow, you could submit an appeal, except I can't submit an appeal because there's nowhere to submit an appeal. Sorry, guys, trying to figure this out now. There's literally nowhere to submit an appeal. Hold on. A little annoying, although I'm not surprised they're doing this again. There's literally nowhere to submit the appeal. You may submit an appeal, except there's nowhere to submit an appeal. Oh God, now I hate when they do this to me. Well, I mean, it's, good luck. Although this is going to be interesting because we were quoting Trump, and that's under their terms. Yeah, there's like literally no way to submit an appeal here. Although it does claim we're only going for 10 minutes, which is confusing. I mean, like we're back in 10 minutes. God. But now, because this counts as a violation, though, so I'm going to have to get involved on this. God damn it, Robert. Okay, no offense, but now is not the time to be messaging me. I'm trying to like copy stuff here. Yeah. Oh God, they piss me off with this stuff. Really ticks me off with this stuff. Yeah, it's not letting me. It's not letting me even appeal. Hold on, because I've got to go and like report this to people again. Sorry everybody, but important for me to actually. I'm going to see if I can even try to go live, or what it's doing. I'm assuming I can't. Yeah, 6 minutes, but it's not letting me appeal. All right, hold on. I've got to report this to somebody. Sorry, guys. Actually, you know what? I'm going to send this to my TikTok account. To my my computer. Come on. Okay, seriously? Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, guys, but like I said, this is important. Discord, I need to jump to some other Discord, so hopefully it keeps me live with you. So give me a second here. Hold on. Hold on. All right, hold on. Now I have to copy this thing and give it. Oh, it's going to let me back in 10 minutes, but I've got to be careful because, as I said, then you get like the violation that, is on your record and this kind of crap. You know what I mean? And every time I've been able to, hold on. All right, I just reported it to my people. Oh, they annoy me so much with this stuff, Anyway, well, we got 5 minutes and TikTok's back. But very well, in principle, it's back. I don't know why they'd be letting me back in 10 minutes. I really don't understand why it's not letting me, why it's not letting me appeal is the thing I don't understand. Makes no sense. And again, we've got to figure this out now because now I've got this violation bullshit. They're such unbelievable. These guys should see it. Hold on. Hold on. All right. All right, there we go. I had to make sure these folks are seeing this anyway. Well, 4 minutes. Let's see if TikTok's supposed to be back. But again, I've got to be careful because I don't want this stupid violation crap. God, they annoy me with this stuff. I mean, we knew they were going to do this. The thing is, this is the problem with the censorship. You know, we're not allowed okay. So I'm reading the New York Times article of what Trump said today. That's not allowed. The second thing, giving the details of a potential war crime the U.S. committed. That's not allowed. Those are the two topics we discussed today. How are those topics? How are either of those a violation of TikTok's rules? Right? I mean, they're not. They're just simply not. Unless this is considered like more mature content. I don't know, the war crimes, and they don't want you talking about it, but you can't talk about it? Like, what does that even mean? Well, 3 minutes. God, they annoy me with this stuff. They really do. They really do. As I said, especially with this kind of stuff where it's like, seriously, there's nothing. Anyway, I still want to wait 3 minutes for TikTok to come back first. Well, if it comes back, I mean, they're claiming, which I think is very weird, that it would discontinue for 10 minutes. But like, seriously, what blows my mind is not getting to appeal. They always let you appeal. There was no ability to appeal. Just not, and it even said your options, you could appeal, except that, of course, there were no options to appeal. Well, let's see. 2 minutes. Man, they are unbelievable. Oh, my God. Hold on. I need to update my little note I sent these guys. All right, 1 more minute, and then let's see. And then we're going to continue anyway. Well, they're going to love the next story. They're going to love the next story. All right. I assume you guys can see me on Discord. I'm waiting to see when I get a message on the other account. All right, we're almost there, and I'm going to try again on TikTok, and let's see. Man, backup account isn't the issue. Yeah, it works, but that's not the issue. No, they gave me a 10-minute ban, which is weird. But also, I want to know if that means I've got a violation, because they give you little strikes against your account, which can screw you. But also, reading a New York Times article about Trump's horrific comments about Somalia will get you banned? No. And then the only other topic we discussed were the war crime that U.S. troops committed and why that's a problem. I don't think that should be a violation of TikTok's rules discussing how bad war crimes are. That seems wrong to me. Let's see if it's still going to, it still may block me. Oh no, it's letting me, it was literally a 10-minute ban. We're not going to, I don't want to talk about this on TikTok at all. So be aware when we come back. Unbelievable. Hold on. Well, hello, TikTok. All right. Anyway, hello, TikTok. We're back. We're back. Well, we'll wait a minute for people on TikTok to come back, and then we'll talk about our next topic, which is actually very funny as well. There was a typo today in the cabinet meeting. That was rather funny. So Trump's cabinet meeting today, he fell asleep a lot, which was also very funny because Trump is getting very upset at the New York Times and other media because the New York Times did a huge story about how Trump's getting old and his verve is no longer verving and he's falling asleep a lot. They've cut back his schedule. If you've noticed when he does, when Trump goes and helps on campaigns now, he doesn't actually go anymore. He phones it in. They literally have been beaming Trump in, doing like televisits to go on the campaign rally because he's too tired. He's too tired to go and campaign. So New York Times does a big story on it. Trump gets upset. Well, today the New York Times reporter did this, and I was like, oh my God, he's going to have a fit. Hold on, I'm going to open my phone and show you this. He is going to have an absolute fit when he sees this. Hang on. Where is this? I sent it to Callum. Is it on my computer? No, it's in my chat. 1 second here. Here we go. Wait. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this was New York Times reporter posts this today and says, oh, there was a typo on the cabinet meeting today. They have cards up for each cabinet secretary, and Hegseth, who's the guy who just committed the war crimes. This was Hegseth's nameplate today. This is from the New York Times. I literally took this from the New York Times. This was his nameplate. Look at his title. I mean, wild. Now, the issue with this becomes, though, one of, is it on purpose? Or is it an accident, or is it on purpose? Which is the interesting question with this, right? But so it's either very funny or it's intentional because they're trying to appeal to that crowd. They're trying to appeal to the extremist crowd, Could be either one. Could be either one. I'm not going to repeat what it says because TikTok probably wouldn't like that. We're only allowed to talk about puppies. So you couldn't read it? Well, it said Secretary of War, except Secretary had too many S's at the beginning. It had two of them. And, well, you can figure out the rest. Like, if there's two S's instead of one, it stands for a certain unit in World War II Germany. That's very famous and very evil. And it's very weird that they posted that. Again, one hopes it was a typo. One hopes. All right. Next up, Trump is planning land strikes on Venezuela. This is getting interesting. So the military experts have been saying for a while now that Trump appears to be getting ready to go to war in Venezuela. We've put over 10,000 troops in the region. We weeks ago moved planes in the region that are basically the planes that we use to bomb. Thank you guys for the gifts. Appreciate it, Kathy and Heather. That are the planes that we use to bomb the Iranian nuclear plants or the nuclear facilities, right? These are not the kind of planes you use to blow up trafficking boats. These are the kind of planes you use when you're, trying to overthrow a country, basically. And Trump said today he's planning land raids now on Venezuela as well. So, yeah. So that's happening. I think he's planning a war here, guys. He's planning a war. Anyway, next up, Trump has paused all immigration applications filed by people from 19 countries who were banned from traveling to the U.S. This other story is actually funny and sad, both. This is kind of funny, actually. Trump is livid about inflation, but he's not livid that you and I are suffering through inflation. He's livid that he's getting blamed for it, which is hilarious. Which is, about as anti-American as you can get, really, and dumb. But he's been ranting lately and criticizing anybody who suggests that inflation is like bad and who wants to talk about inflation. For example, a couple of weeks ago, Trump said, I don't want to hear about affordability. Nobody, stop saying that word. Well, that same day, the White House put out a statement about how they're worried about affordability. Affordability is a buzzword for inflation, right? You can't afford things. Prices are too high. Well, Trump today went on a rant about inflation in his cabinet meeting. I want to read you some of it because it's very bottom line. Trump thinks there isn't any inflation. There was inflation, but there isn't now. He solved it. He cured it. Everything's great. Everything's wonderful. And actually, he's afraid inflation's going too well, that we've been battling it too effectively. He's nuts. I mean, no one thinks we're doing well on inflation, right? Nobody thinks this. Listen to this, all right? Hang on a second. New York Times. President Trump on Tuesday downplayed the cost of living pain being felt by Americans, declaring that affordability doesn't mean anything to anybody as his political edge on the economy continues to dissipate. In remarks during a cabinet meeting, Trump railed against Democrats who have championed the inflation issue. Trump called the issue of affordability a fake narrative and a con job created by Democrats to dupe the public. So he said this before, but just to remind you, if you're worried about inflation, you're a dupe or you're duping. So either you've been duped or you're trying to trick other people. If you're worried about inflation, and you're lying. It's a fake narrative if you're claiming that inflation's a problem, okay? That prices are a problem. He goes, they just say the word, he says. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. You just say it, affordability. I inherited the worst inflation in history. No, he didn't. Inflation was actually, we should find out exactly. Inflation was at basically 3% last year or earlier this year when Trump became president. It's, I believe, slightly higher. Let's pull this up. Trump did not inherit the worst inflation in history. But let's find out. Let's ask boyfriend.
Hey there.
Hey, boyfriend. So what was the inflation rate on the day Trump took office, January 20th of this year? Or at least, get as close as you can to January 20th of this year.
So as of around January 20 this year, the inflation rate was about 3% year over year. Basically, that month saw a little bump in prices. Energy and shelter costs especially nudged things up.
Okay, so, and where is the inflation rate right now?
Right now, the most recent official inflation data we have is from September 2025, which was about 3.0%. There's been a delay in newer reports.
So the inflation rate is exactly where it was when Donald Trump became president. Trump inherited an inflation rate. I knew the answer to this, but I wanted to check with ChatGPT anyway. Trump inherited an inflation rate of 3% from Joe Biden. The inflation rate right now is 3%. That's it. Trump said today, I'm going to read this again from him, okay? Read it again from him. I inherited the worst inflation in history. No, you inherited an inflation rate of 3%. That's where it is right now. 3% is still not good because it should be 2%, but it's not the worst inflation in history. There was no affordability. Nobody could afford anything. He then goes on and says, there's still more to do, Trump says. There's always more to do, but we have it down to a very good level. Okay, again, the inflation rate was at 3% when Trump took over the presidency on January 20th of this year. Today, the inflation rate is at 3%. They do not have it down to a very good level. It's literally at the same level it was at 9 months ago or 10 months ago when he became president. Okay, 10 months ago. 10. There's a little bit more. Listen to this. He goes, so listen, there's always more to do, but we have it down to a very good level. It's going to go down a little bit further. You want to have a little tiny bit of inflation. Otherwise, that's not good either. Then you have a thing called deflation, and deflation can be worse than inflation. Yeah, he's right. But right now, the problem in America is not deflation. Nobody, literally nobody, is worried about deflation. Deflation means prices start going down across the board. It can be a disaster if prices start going down across the board. Because basically what happens if prices start going down across the board and prices are going down, you're not going to spend any money. I mean, it's sort of like prices going up, right? If prices keep dropping massively, I don't know if I'm going to spend money. I'm going to probably wait for one. There's a lot of different problems, but one problem is you wait because if you know prices are going down each month, wait, right? I mean, you might as well wait a couple months before you buy the car if you know the prices are dropping 10% next month, right? So anyway, deflation is a problem, but Donald Trump is the only person in America who thinks the problem right now is that we're fighting inflation too effectively and the prices are going down too much potentially, is what Trump said today. This is great. I mean, this is terrible, of course, for America, but it's also great for America because he's going to piss people off. I have said many times that, Donald Trump is a pathological liar, but he can't lie about inflation. He can't lie about what consumers are feeling, about what they're not even feeling, what consumers are experiencing, right? He can't lie about the price of meat at your grocery store. He can't lie about the price of cars. Cars have gotten crazy out of control as well for prices, right? He can't lie about the price of coffee. Coffee's up horrifically. Right, as who was it? Jeannie just said. So it's not the kind of thing you can lie about, basically, right? So this anyway, he's trying, but again, it's going to piss off voters, which is great. It's going to help Democrats in the election, which is great. I mean, I don't think inflation is great. I think it's put it this way. I would prefer that Trump tried to help get rid of inflation personally, because that would be better for the country. But if he's not going to fight inflation, then I would rather have him publicly admit it and make a fool of himself and piss people off. The other thing is, and the New York Times noted this as well, Donald Trump is actually making inflation worse because of his tariffs. Tariffs are a tax on Americans, period. Tariffs are a tax on goods we import into the country. We import a lot of goods to the country. They're a tax on goods we import, and the tax is either on American civilians, you and me, or on companies that buy the goods that get imported. It's one or the other, but that's what tariffs are. So anyway, a little bit more here. No news on Obamacare subsidies. Trump did say, to his credit, that he was thinking of maybe extending Obamacare subsidies for another 2 years. A lot of people's healthcare premiums are going up, health insurance premiums massively next month, like doubling for a lot of people. Thank you, JJ. Mine are going up quite a lot. And Republicans refused to continue the subsidies to help people. Remember, that was the whole issue of the government shutdown. And now we're kind of waiting because, Republicans said, well, they might consider talking about it once the government's open. Well, the government's open. So what are Republicans doing about the fact that people's health insurance costs are about to double for a lot of Americans? So I would like to know, for one. Trump fell asleep a lot today in cabinet meetings. So this was funny. This as well. New York Times had a lot of stories today. This was from the New York Times as well. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was the last person to deliver remarks as members of President Donald Trump's cabinet went around the table lavishing praise on their boss Tuesday, a process that took 2 hours and 17 minutes this is CNN, by CNN's count, and appeared to lose the president's attention multiple times. Rubio heralded Trump's transformational foreign policy as the president, seated beside him, slouched in his chair, his eyes closed. Then he abruptly shifted, straightened, and looked at the Secretary of State. Moments later, the president's eyes again appeared to close as Rubio made a joke about the college football playoff season. The cabinet members around the table laughed loudly. The president, unmoved, barely raised his lips, his eyes fluttering briefly. He was dead asleep. Trump narrowed, closed, or appeared to close his eyes multiple times throughout the lengthy meeting, including during impassioned remarks by Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and as Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer detailed workforce development efforts. He also seemed to look down at a paper on the table in front of him many times, or at times, giving the appearance his eyes were closed. The White House said the president was listening attentively. Yeah. He's getting old. It's pretty funny because they made a lot of fun of Joe Biden and a lot of criticism actually of Joe Biden for this. And, our little taco is getting a little old, basically. And it's getting noted. I will give the press credit because they destroyed Joe Biden over this. And at least they're holding Trump. Now, of course, Fox News won't report on it. I mean, CNN was happy to talk nonstop about Joe Biden being old, right? Nonstop. Does Fox News talk about Donald Trump getting old? No. I mean, Google it. CNN, people were livid at CNN. Jake Tapper in particular. I mean, I'm not knocking Jake necessarily for this because Biden was old, but nonetheless, people were livid at the coverage they gave. You don't see anybody livid at Fox News for saying because they're not talking about Trump getting old and being sleepy. Anyway, they're going to withhold food stamps again. So Trump's White House said today they're going to withhold food stamps from, again, 20 different Democratic-led states. The Trump people are trying to get private information on food stamp recipients, including Social Security numbers and other data that, frankly, the federal government has no right to have. It's state data. They believe Trump is doing it because they're trying to use it to go after, basically doing whatever they can to find illegal immigrants. And Trump, they said today, the White House, was it the White House or the Agricultural Secretary? I forget. It was a woman who said it, actually. It was the Agriculture Department, said that they're going to cut off food stamps to 20 Democratic states, like in a week, if they don't give the data. Think about this, guys. They've already done this once during the shutdown. The Trump people shut off food payments, food stamps, money for poor people to buy food. They cut the money off in order to pressure Democrats. But again, and half of that money goes to children. They cut food to children in order as a political ploy. Now they're doing it again. They're cutting food to 20 Democratic states. Half of those people are children. Trump is cutting food to children. No normal person would do that. A little bit more. Trump's moved the National Guard to New Orleans. That's going to be fun. So keep in mind that the 2 National Guardsmen were shot in D.C. last week. One was killed. In D.C., for example, the National Guard spends a lot of time picking up garbage and laying down mulch. That's basically what they do. Otherwise, they do nothing. They walk around a lot. The only time I've seen them has been literally walking around or standing around doing nothing. Typically, it's during the best part of the day in the best neighborhoods. Literally, DuPont Circle at noon one day, 11 o'clock, noon, whenever it was. I was walking home from a doctor's appointment, and they're in DuPont Circle at noon on a Thursday. There's nowhere safer to be in Washington other than the White House and the Pentagon. Well, the Pentagon's not in Washington, than the White House or a police station at noon on DuPont Circle. Now, DuPont Circle, 2 a.m. on a Saturday, that's where they should be. But he's been using these guys. They literally use them to pick up garbage in Washington. They literally use them to put down mulch for the plants in Washington, D.C. And then these guys get shot. Now he's doing the same thing in New Orleans. Finally, Ukraine. So Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, and Steve Witkoff, who's the kind of pro-Kremlin business guy that Trump keeps using, but people think he's too close to Putin and the Russians, basically. They went to Moscow today to meet with Putin to talk about their latest peace plan. I love the Russians. The Russians said today, the Americans came to Moscow to present us with their latest peace plan. Yeah. The last peace plan from Trump was actually a Russian peace plan, we found out. It was one the Russians gave him, and then he presented it as his own. So, but literally no news about what happened. They had a 5-hour meeting. Nobody knows what happened. Putin says Russia is ready right now for war with Europe. Putin's afraid, he said today, that Europe is ready to start a war. But they're ready. They're not ready, by the way, just so you know. Russia's having a hard time in Ukraine. Ukraine's having a hard time in Ukraine, but Russia's having a hard time too. There is no way that Russia is ready for war with Europe. They're certainly not ready for war with America either, that's for sure. But they're not ready for war with Europe. It would destroy Russia if they are trapped in Ukraine. They've lost 1 million men. Keep that in mind. Over 1 million men they've lost. 300,000 plus have died. 700,000 plus have been injured to the point where they've been knocked out of the war. They can't afford to go to war against Europe at the same time as they're basically in a stalemate with the Ukrainians. I mean, you don't even have to be a war expert. It's just obvious, right? If you're stuck in a stalemate, the Russians are stuck in a stalemate. They're moving ahead very slowly. They're stuck. If you're basically stuck, you don't want a second war to start. And again, with NATO, like maybe with Belarus or Kazakhstan, right? But not NATO. So Putin's full of it. They're not ready for war right now. And finally, a Russian tanker was reportedly hit by sea drones in the Black Sea near Turkey, which is pretty cool. Because that means the Ukrainians, interestingly, have been hitting the Russians, but in the Black Sea near Turkey. That's not really near Ukraine. I mean, that's That's very interesting. That gets, well, I mean, it is near Ukraine. Okay. It's not like it's not near Ukraine, but my point is that's, anyway, it's good. It's good news. We'll put it that way. They're still going after Russia's energy, which is a very good thing because that makes it harder for Russia to fight the war. All right. Anyway. All right. So let's hang out. This is our hangout time. We hang out. We talk about the news. We kvetch. We talk about my Greek application, whatever we want. So, hello. Our TikTok numbers are back. That's good. Hello, TikTokers. So yes, I do the news every Monday to Friday, 6:00 Eastern. And then we hang once, like now when I'm done with the news, bring up whatever topics you want. We'll talk about in principle. Kind of an ask me anything, I guess, is one way to put it. Or as I call them, ask me anything-ish. Other than that, anyway, keep the gifts coming. By the way, guys, TikTok and Discord and everywhere else. Whitney, maybe the problem with that, Whitney, is we're not allowed to talk about it on TikTok anymore. So the last one, like half the items didn't even sell. So I'm a little, actually, I still have to like put them in the mail and tell the guys who won so they can pay, but I'm not quite sure what to do about the auctions since TikTok is being annoying about them. So I'm not sure what to do because that was a nice way to advertise them. And now I can't. So yeah, it's very annoying. Anyway. Oh, is it good? Danny says, listening to Kamala Harris's book. Interesting. Is she I assume she's reading it, right? I assume people read their own books if they've got an okay voice, right? I assume, right? Anyway, what else is going on? I'll have to see, Whitney, what I've got. I'm sure I've got some keychains. No, I've got to put some more stuff up anyway. I will. Actually, I do have to reach out to the people who won too. I just got annoyed that we couldn't broadcast them as widely, which makes life harder. So anyway, what else, guys? Questions, politics, Trump, Ukraine. Oh God. Well, I mean, who knows? William says, do you have any thoughts about how Russia and Ukraine will develop? Meaning what's going to happen next? I mean, it's kind of a mess, they're in a stalemate. I mean, that's really the problem. They're in a stalemate. And Trump is confused. I don't know what's going on with Trump. Trump literally goes day by day, and he's either pro-Putin or pissed at Putin. And it's sort of like he's in love and jilted or something. It just doesn't quite make sense. So it's not clear what Trump is going to do. The Europeans want to keep helping Ukraine. Putin is Putin's happy to keep the war going. I don't think, sorry, yawning again. I don't think the war is going great for Russia. I don't think Putin particularly cares because it's a dictatorship. We know over 1 million men. They've lost over 1 million men. Now, that's not just killed. That's killed and wounded. But they've killed is over 300,000 men. But they don't get, in a normal country, that would be a problem. Putin doesn't care. It's a dictatorship, right? So that's an issue. Ukraine, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happens. The Russians are not willing to settle. The Russians started the war anyway. I mean, you basically got a situation where somebody like breaks into your house and, takes your kids hostage, and people want you to reach a settlement with them. And you're like, well, how do we do that? I'm supposed to give up half my house? Like, how do you do that? Population of Russia is 153 million, give or take. Ukraine's was 42 million-ish, give or take. Probably less now because millions fled, when the war broke out. But yeah, this is a lot of 1 million casualties is a real lot for a country that's 150 million people, But the Russians, unfortunately, the Russians are kind of, very, very willing to accept pain, unfortunately, It's unfortunate. But what do you do? They just, do. Hold on a second here. But But they don't rise up. They did rise up in 2011, but look under the Soviet years. And we had 70 years of the Soviet Union being a brutal dictatorship, and the Russian people kind of went, you know, I mean, you know, and they were willing to put up with it. So I don't know. I don't know, you know. Putin's family, yes, exactly. Pyrrhic victory. Yeah, I mean, it is a Pyrrhic victory in some ways, you know. I mean, Pyrrhic victory, the term is meaning when, I am yawning again, sorry guys, meaning when you win, but it was such a painful victory that you didn't really win. So, like, you win, but you've lost so many men. And that's what Russia went through. Their economy has been so damaged and they've lost so many men that, I know, having said that, they are getting extra land in Ukraine. I mean, so far, right? They're expanding the country. I mean, if they didn't get any land, I don't know if this is Pyrrhic entirely, because from Putin's perspective, they expanded the country. He got more land, right? So that's not a small thing. And, well, again, we screwed Ukraine over big time because we should have given them better weapons from the beginning, and we were afraid of making Putin angry. So, you know, and then the Republicans came in and cut off all aid, and then Trump came in, and God knows, right? You know, God knows what's motivating Trump. Is Venezuela getting ready to be ransacked? Yes. Trump said today that we are going to have land attacks coming soon in Venezuela. I think he wants to overthrow the government, basically. I think that's exactly what Trump is planning on doing. So, you know. Anyway, what else, guys? What else? It's the oil. Yeah, he wants the oil too. I mean, Trump is hoping to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela and basically put this woman in power who's an ally, and then he gets back. And, you know, Venezuela is a member of OPEC. They've got huge amounts of oil. And, you know, which again, like, I have no problem. I mean, I would love Maduro to be replaced, but Donald Trump got elected claiming he was going to end all war. He keeps trying to get like the Nobel Peace Prize, and he's threatened more war than any president in modern history, you know, and he even bombed Iran. Again, I tend to be kind of more pro use our military. So, you know, like the Iran thing was very dangerous. I'm glad we did it, but very dangerous to do. But Trump was the one who claimed we were fighting too many wars in the Middle East and the Middle East didn't matter. And then he goes and bombs Iran. It's like, okay. And now he's bombing Venezuela and looks like he wants to overthrow the government and threatened to invade Panama and threatened to invade Greenland. And it's like on and on and on and on. He also threatened to invade Gaza too. That was the other thing. We were going to invade Gaza at one point. It was like, are you crazy? It's crazy. It's nuts, you know? So yeah, not good. Not good. So, yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what decisions on issues Trump makes that are actually legitimate, right? Like, meaning, is there any issue Trump makes a decision on where he just literally says, that sounds like the right thing to do? Or is it always about money and anger with him, right? Is it always about who was nice to me, who was mean to me, or who's paying me, right? I mean, look at this pardon thing. My God, this pardon that he gave to this, you know, drug kingpin from Honduras that he just let off. The guy wrote him a letter telling him, I was oppressed by Joe Biden. He went after me just like he went after you. You know, just to be mean to me, just like he was mean to you. And Trump fell for it and decided to let the guy go. It was like, except this is a guy who's trafficked in millions of dollars of bribes that he accepted. I would be very curious to know if Trump got anything out of the pardon other than releasing a guy who was oppressed by Joe Biden, or did the guy promise Trump anything? I'd be curious to know that, you know? So, interesting way to win the Nobel Peace Prize too, giving pardons to these guys. I'll say that too, right? Anyway, What else, guys? Mm, 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 mm. What else? What else? What else? What else? Anything? Otherwise, we may end. One of these days, we may end early because TikTok. I was warned, not warned in a bad way, but if the numbers go too low on TikTok and you keep the show going, it could like hurt your numbers overall or something. I don't know. So cornbread turned out. I made the cornbread before. It was good. It was good. It was good. Frankenstein. I did not finish it yet. I watched more of it last night. I'm very divided on Frankenstein. Again, I don't want to ruin it for people. The new Frankenstein movie. It's good. That's true. We should go to Discord. Maybe we'll go to Discord. You know what? Let's go to Discord and hang for a few minutes because TikTok's already getting low. Let's go to Discord. I just can't. I don't want to talk about the details of the Frankenstein movie because then we ruin it for people. But I still think it's. I watched some of it last night. I've been doing more of my Greek stuff too. But it's. I think Carrie said kind of slow. I think it is kind of slow a little bit. I'm kind of watching it going. What's happening? Like when you think about it, well, actually, okay. What the Frankenstein, I mean, this part I'm not ruining. What the movie is about is it's one of those, let's look back at how we got here kind of movies. Like what happened over the last year or something. That isn't necessarily a movie that doesn't have stuff. Stuff happens. I still feel like it's a little slow. It's a little slow. My username should just be, it's the Aravosis Discord community or whatever. Is it the Aravosis Report is my Discord name. Yeah. The Aravosis Report. But yeah, so like it's on Netflix. I think it's worth watching. It's beautifully done. The acting is great. Some great actors. The costumes are great. The makeup is great. The visuals are beautiful. The story is interesting and different. It's a different take on the Frankenstein story. It's just, there's a part of me that feels like I'm watching a TV show and I don't know how else to describe it. I just feel like I'm watching a TV show, which isn't a bad thing, but it doesn't quite feel like a movie. Something, I don't know, something about it. Yeah, the Venezuela thing. We'll do the final question for Mr. Andrew. How do I feel about going to war with Venezuela? I mean, I will shed no tears if Maduro is overthrown. The problem is, you need to know what's coming next if you're going to overthrow governments. Generally, it's something that's considered, it's sort of, had Trump gone to the Wharton School, well, they probably wouldn't teach it at Wharton, but had he gone to graduate school, he might have learned that you don't just overthrow governments unless you know what's coming next. Also, he was elected to stop all war and he keeps finding more and more wars, like, what's up with that? Oh, thank you for that, for the gift membership. Let's see who gets it, Andrew. Appreciate that. But so like, let me put it this way. I just don't see the reason to do it. Let me put it that way. Oh, Gunther, you got one. That's cute. You got it from Andrew. I don't see the reason that we're going in because clearly I think Trump is wanting to overthrow the government of Venezuela. It's a bad dictator running the country. It'd be nice if he's gone. I don't think, generally speaking, it should not be the U.S. policy to overthrow every dictator in the world. Let's put it that way. We shouldn't use the U.S. military and go to war to overthrow every dictator in the world. That's a fair statement. And I would need a little more compelling reason to go in and go to war with Venezuela than simply that he's an ass and a dictator, which he is. He's a bad man and a dictator. Yes. But I just am not sure. I don't know. I just don't think that's enough of a justification to go to war and overthrow him. I need more. It would, again, the OPEC thing is nice. I mean, first of all, can we do it? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we could destroy Venezuela. There's a lot of nice people who live there. We may not want to hurt, but could we actually get rid of the guy? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always easy to just overthrow a government. You can bomb them, but you can't always overthrow them. Saddam Hussein in Iraq, we had to go in by land to take him out. We couldn't get him by just bombing. So like, that's not, it's more complicated than Trump is letting on. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's one of those interesting situations though, because I'm not opposed to military action in many cases. I'm not even opposed to overthrowing governments necessarily, but I need a compelling reason, and I need you to explain to me that it's going to work and what's coming next. What's the benefit? What's it going to cost us monetarily? What's it going to cost us? Are we going to lose U.S. troops, U.S. lives? Because that matters. Are we going to win? Right? I mean, all of that. And is the country going to fall apart? Couldn't you see, for example, oh my God, couldn't you imagine instead of like, oh, this woman takes over, we get a civil war in Venezuela and the oil production stops. And all of a sudden, a major member of OPEC stops producing oil. Then what do you think is going to happen to oil prices? Right? I mean, I'm saying I guarantee you, Trump has never even thought of that. Those are the things you've got to think about. It may make sense to go in. Maybe. But do I think Donald Trump has thought through whether it makes sense for us to overthrow Venezuela? No, I do not give him the credit that he's gone in and thought about it and has reached a very intelligent, wise decision on the matter. No. So there you go. That was a very long answer, Andrew, but you get it. As I said, I'm not torn on these issues, but I am not someone who opposes military action. I mean, I do, but I'm a hawk on military stuff. Put it that way. Meaning I don't have a problem with using the U.S. military. I really don't. So I'm not a liberal on foreign policy stuff. You're like, oh, U.S. intervenes too much. Sometimes, but sometimes necessary. Somebody's got to. From my perspective, so it makes it a little more complicated for me because I don't want to say no. We would do that's just wrong. That would be a violation of international law. He's a dictator. I'm not shedding a lot of tears about international law. You know what I mean? Firing immigration judges. I did not see that. No. Oh, dog wants water. You know what? Actually, let's call it quits. You know what? Let's do Gunther. Let's do Discord tomorrow. Remind me early so we can end at 7:00 because now it's already 7:10 anyway. And I'm still annoyed from the TikTok thing. But let's do tomorrow. Remind me, actually, Ashley too, somebody try to do it. Remind me with like 15 minutes to go or something at like 6:45. And then we can go to Discord at like 7:00 and do that. But that was a little better only because if we go to Discord now, what you doing again? If we go to Discord now, I just don't want to like do the voice too long. You know what I mean? We'll go like half an hour if we go now. And I just worry about my voice. But let's do that. All right. Thanks, guys. All right. I'm going to say goodnight then. A little early, but it's okay. Thank you for hanging on tonight. Thank you for the gifts. We got some very nice gifts before TikTok disappeared, but we're back. So thank you all. Discord server link should be in my profile. It's the Aravosis Report on Discord. You can just Google it, I'm sure. Or however one finds your favorite Discord channel. But the Aravosis Report, same as my show here. I assume you could just Google stuff on Discord. Discord confuses me, I will say. Like finding stuff on Discord is never always obvious, I think, Anyway. All right, guys. Have a good night. All right. Sorry, Jeffrey. I'm just seeing Jeffrey's comment. How many American lives would be lost, and is it justified? There you go. I did get to that. I did get to that point as well. All right. Have a good night, guys. Sorry. We got a lot of you guys still on Discord. All right. I promise tomorrow we'll do Discord. All right. Bye, guys. Chirp. All right. YouTube. Bye, YouTube. Just TikTok. You're next.